Good morning, NIO fam. It is Laser here with another weekend video analysis. It is 8:14 a.m. in the morning. It is April 25th. And I'm here to share with you where I see the stock price of NIO going. Before I begin, I just want to address my last week's video where I actually made the call out that NIO was going to go up to $8. I was wrong. I want to own that. I apologize, and I'm going to get it wrong. And which leads me to my next point. If you're making a big financial decision, especially if you're doing like short-term trading options, please do your own due diligence, do your own research. I'm just a guy who loves the stock. I love sharing where I see the stock going. I am not going to get it right every single time, but it's not going to stop me when I'm wrong to come back each and every single week and try and figure what the heck is going on with NIO. I've been doing this for the past 2 years. We've been tracking where NIO's been going. And I love doing it. I feel like NIO is just one of those stocks that always humbles me, and I'm sure it humbles other people. It's not an easy stock to track, but we try and do our best here when it comes to the velocity. And so here we are. I have my coffee, so if you see me or if you hear me stop for just a bit, just to take a couple sips, it's just me trying to enjoy my cup of coffee this morning before it turns cold. I get the breakfast blend. It's usually when I buy my coffee, I just get it at the gas station. I go to a co-op gas station and pick up the breakfast blend. It's not bad, hits the spot. Before we begin and dive into the technical analysis and start sharing where we're going to go, and just a recap of what we're going to cover today, BABA, Bidu, JD, Kweb. We will look at the Dixie, which is the US dollar, and we're going to look at the Seng Index. We did cover a couple other topics like the oil, and we'll talk about SPY. If there's time, we'll talk about that at the end, but my main focus right now is obviously NIO. All right, having said that, before we begin, a life in the laser and story time. Yesterday, I had to take a 8-hour course. It was like a driver behavior and responsibility course. And I learned quite a bit in that course, but it wasn't a voluntary course. I had to, in order to renew my driver's license, I had to take this course. And so it's story time. The reason I had to take that course was rewind 1 year ago. I was on the highway driving to my sister's house, and I had a work meeting to go to. The reason I was going to my sister's house is I had my son with me, and my mom was there, and she was watching my nieces, and she was going to watch my son while I worked. And so I had my laptop with me. I had a work meeting coming up, and I was getting late, and I figured, hey, let's try and save a little bit of time because I don't want to get late. I don't want to get in shit with my job. And I'm sure you guys, I don't know if you guys have been there. Let me know if you guys have been there where you've been late and you pedal to the metal. You started speeding a little just to try and make it to the meeting. At least that was the case for me. And I was on the highway. I was going, admittedly, I guess I didn't realize how fast I was going, but I was going 150. And it was a safe highway. It was like two ways going one way and then divided highway and then two ways the other way. And coming across the other side of the highway was a cop. So I must have gone 150 and the cop was going on the opposite direction. But I guess they have the equipment on their vehicles that can scan and tell you how. And as soon as I saw him, I started slowing down. But he just drove right through the median lane and he pulled me over. He's like, you know how fast you're going? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm sorry. He's like, yeah, I got to write you a ticket. You're going way too fast. Da, 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 da. So anyways, that costed me when it came time to renewing my license. But also, I couldn't renew my driver's license they said, you have to take this course. Otherwise, we won't renew your driver's license. And in this course, they talked about like driving under the influence, drunk driving, talking about speeding, all sorts of good things. And I can tell you all these fun facts that I learned from this course that I took. But that was my yesterday. Yeah, that's it for story time, guys. If you have a interesting story similar to that, let me know. Oh, one other thing, life in the laser. For whatever reason, my nose just started to run yesterday. I started getting sick. And the only thing that works when my nose is running is laying down. So I was laying down lots, and I'm feeling a lot better today, but I can still feel a little bit of sickness. So if you hear me sniffling, I'm still battling something, but I feel a lot better than I did yesterday. All right, enough of the intro. let's get started. My coffee's getting cold here, so I'm gonna take a few sips as we go along. I like when the coffee is hot and it bites the roof of your mouth. The same way when you drink a cup of Coke and it's carbonated, and when you drink it and it punches the roof of your mouth. To me, I love that feeling. I love, and if it doesn't punch, it doesn't do nothing for me. So, and for me, when the coffee's hot enough and it punches the roof of my mouth, that's when it hits the spot. Okay, 24-hour on our velocity. We're gonna start here. Made a lower low right over here. I'm gonna change the color of this to orange. We'll use pink. I like pink. Pink's nice. I'm gonna move this to the side so we can see full screen. So velocity made a lower low, and it also made, in relative to this, it made a lower low relative to this. This was like a minor, this little drop forced it to be a higher low. And it got me thinking, like, that's a little weird. And we saw something similar. We had that little boop, and then it made a lower low. And what happened when you got that low? Now, what's funny though, if I did something funny, so let's just say, not funny, but let's make this white because that's the color of the thing. So we're gonna hit delete. If I just did this, colored it in, and this was just one move, and we smoothened it out. Okay, we're not gonna count that. And we said, all right, this was one move, because really that's just one move right here, right? If that was one move, there's your higher low. There's your higher high. And there's your higher low. That would have been like, okay, that's clean. Same thing here. What if we just smoothen it out? Right? And we just say, okay, there's your higher low. There's your higher high. And I believe, just like how it made this weird like pivot there, a higher low, just like it did there, we shouldn't really necessarily count it. I thought that was more like noise. And I still think we're in a position to kind of build out a higher low. I still think the trend is actually still alive and intact. And how do I know that? Well, if I draw a little trend line right over here from bottom to top, which is what I've done it before, I can see that we're above this trend line still. Now here's another chart that I'm going to show you, brand new for the very first time. And it's always existed. I want to let you know, 2-day chart has always existed. It's always been around. It's not as fast. It's not as good for pivots. But, this little issue that I had over here with the velocity, what it does is we're basically grouping candles into 2 days. You get a much more smoother, cleaner chart. And I can't believe I've never shown you guys the 2-day chart because I'm so excited to show you. So get ready for this. Let me take a sip of my coffee first because I'm going to build up the anticipation. It'll be worth the wait. 1 sec. All right, 2 days. Okay, this is the 2-day chart. It basically takes 2 days and squishes it into one candle. Do you guys see something here? Do you guys see any lower lows? Now let's go back real quick. 24, 2-day, 24. Here, I'm going to actually do something here. Watch this. Lower low. And relative to that, I'm going to go like this. Lower low. Wait. I don't see a lower low here. I don't see a lower low here. Do you guys see that? So it's interesting. And now I want to quickly talk about the 2-day. The 2-day time frame is actually it's even more reliable than the 1-day chart because bigger time frames have stronger signals. And you'll notice on the 24-hour chart, see this little weird glitch day that we had here? Doesn't even count it on the 2-day. It just blends in as one single move. And I want to really bring your attention here because this is going to be for the people who are like, oh my God, like NIO's it's the end of the world and it's going to go down. Because it gets like that when NIO doesn't have like a green week or a green day. Take a look at the last 100% rally. The last time things went really wrong, and this is the 2-day chart, You actually got a lower low, which was this drop here, and you actually got a lower high. Okay. You got two things in a sequence. So when a run is done in a sequence, like in an uptrend, so you got higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. When that uptrend ends, you need those two things to end: a lower low, lower high, and then of course lower low. But we haven't gotten any of that. Okay, so even if I were to play devil's advocate and say, oh, this is the top, this was the top. Okay, if that were the case, if I was playing devil's advocate and we're at the top, this is the top, we still need to see a lower low and a lower high. And I don't think we're going to see that. I truly don't. And then I think we're just getting started. Now, there's another thing I'm going to point out to you that maybe some of you guys have saw it, maybe some of you guys haven't. So 24-hour chart. I want to show you something here. Take a look at this for a second. You see this yellow line here? And it made a lower low, and I was like, I'm not so sure about this run. And I was kind of becoming more and more open to it, actually, as time went on, that this is actually wouldn't matter. Look at the 2-day chart. Look what our 200-day moving average is doing. It's making a higher low. Like, I can't even tell you how insane that is. The last time it made a higher low, you saw what it did. Okay, so I love this look on that 200-day moving average. Like, it's absolutely beautiful. And so I hope that was worth the wait when you guys look at the 24 hours. So then part of you might be thinking is like, well, what the hell's going on with NIO? Why is it going down? When's the bottom? Where's the reversal? And that's the $1 million question. Always with NIO or any stock, when is the bottom? And we can have a good idea by going on some of the smaller time frames, which we'll try and do. So I'm going to balance that, make the chart a little bit bigger, and then the velocity, balance that like this. So we're going to go to the 4-hour time frame here. So here we go, 4-hour time frame. So I want to actually show you a couple things that I wanted to share with you today. So number one, each and every single time the velocity broke below the midline. So I'm talking about the 4-hour velocity broke below the midline is where we formed our bottom. So there's the first time. There's the second time. And hey, there we are again. The third time we're below. Now, what was very interesting, if you go back to the last time, I always say you need a higher low to give you that clean signal that the bottom is in. That higher low on that 4-hour did not happen until it was way freaking higher. Like from the bottom at 530 versus the higher low at 590, it happened way higher. The higher low over here happened actually at an okay price. You were able to play off that signal, and that was also earnings, right before earnings. So that's kind of what we want. We want that signal on that 4-hour. But there's another thing that we want to watch for, which is going to be on the 1-hour time frame. The 1-hour time frame is faster. It's about 4 times faster than the 4-hour time frame. And I have some good news to share from you. This is good news. I didn't come on here and try and share bad news. No way. I would never do that. I'm here to share some good news. And of course, I'm just joking. If there's actually bad news, or if I saw something bad, I definitely would be. You'd be the first to hear it from me. I'm not afraid to let you know if I see something bad. I don't see anything bad. I think I just see a correction here. So here's a couple things that I want to share with you on the 1-hour velocity. And give me a moment here. My coffee, I can just feel it. It's not getting as hot. On the 1-hour velocity over here, since the top, which was $7.05, we have not, and if you look at the velocity, we have not, I'm going to switch this to purple. I like purple. Okay. We have not gotten, so notice this hold down, this price going down. We have not seen the velocity make a higher high. So lower high, this was a lower high in relative to that, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. I mean, you can kind of say, okay, there was a little higher low there, but it was followed by a lower high, lower low, lower high, higher low, which was similar to this. But let me tell you, in the first time in this entire downtrend, we now finally have a higher high. This, it creeped over and gave us a higher high. Okay. And how do I know that? Well, let's do this real quick. So this was a lower high. This was a lower high. This was a lower high. So those are your reference points. So at no point in time did the velocity take out this high or this high or this high. But we now have something that took it out. Why is it doing that? Let's move this. We now have a higher high. And we have something else. And maybe you guys have noticed it. I'm sure you guys have. It's pretty easy to notice with the velocity indicator. What else do you guys see here? You guys see not only do we have a higher high, but what else since this has pulled back on the 1 hour do we see here? All right. And I'm sure most of you got that. But if you haven't, the 200-day moving average has broken to the velocity has broken out. Now, here's the thing that I always say. When you get a signal like a higher high, I always take it with a grain of salt because truthfully, to me, until you see an impulsive move, like a bigger move up that really signals you've hit that bottom, you got to be cautious with some of these signals. It didn't necessarily feel like we've gotten a bottom, but signs are pointing to that we did. There's a couple things that I wanted to share with you as well. So this is going to be some interesting things. So let's clean the chart. I want to show you something, okay? And this is my theory that starting from, what was it? Starting from over here, which was the high at $6.69 when we made that correction. Let's see, right there. We ended up getting the A, the B, and the C, okay? And let me show you something. A, B, C. Okay, we're going to do something here for a second. Let's use the magnet tool. Magnet is how you get precise. Got to use the magnet tool. Did I get it precise? I did get it precise. Look at that. Okay, so we're going to do one thing. We're going to move this out the way first. Because I know these numbers don't. It's important. You want to get right to the penny, which is what I'm trying to do here. We do that right. We might have done it right. Yeah, we did. We did it right. Doesn't matter how you look at it. It hits on both sides. Okay. Here we go. Take a look. A, B, C correction. Now, somebody might be saying, like, what the hell? Like, why is B higher? And sometimes when you do get a correction, the B wave could come higher. Sometimes when you get a correction, the B wave can actually come higher in an actual corrective move. And that's what tricks a lot of investors. And you know, it can totally trick you. And you'll notice the entire move down from A, from the B, actually found a bottom right around the 127.2%, which is a very common Fibonacci where you'd expect that next for the C wave to go down to. Now you'll notice right below that is 594, which was the 161.80. We actually tagged roughly around there. I mean, if I change this to a regular scale, which is 597, if you guys looked at the Hong Kong market, which was the 9866. I'm just going to pull that up real quick here. And you put that to the USD price. It tagged a price, well, at least for me. And a lot of people were telling me like around a certain hour. Oh, wait. Where would it show that? It tagged $6.02 for me. Actually, let's go down to the minute on the Hong Kong exchange. So it got pretty damn close on the Hong Kong exchange. So we're going to go back to Neil here for a second. Apologies. Our chart's all scaled all weird. Give me a second here while I make it nice and neat looking. All right. So there's something else that I want to tell you here. Okay, we're gonna show you this. We're gonna label this as, what if I told you that this has happened before, that we've been here before? And this is the third time that we've seen this. Third time. Now, Elliott Wave, you Elliott Wave charters, feel free to come at me. Let me know I'm wrong, but I feel like this is going to be, I could be wrong on this. I'm not an Elliott Wave guy, but I've noticed these patterns. Now, I want to show you this B wave, by the way, real quick before I go and show you the second time. I'm not an Elliott Wave guy, but I do like to throw it in when I can. So if I do a trend-based Fibonacci, no, that was the wrong tool. I wanted to do fib retracement. Where is it? 1.4. Sometimes, and this is a really ugly chart. Sometimes. So what I did here, I'm going to go to the 1 hour chart so you can see what I did here. I took like the top here and the bottom. Sometimes, so this was the A move. We'll just call this A. Sometimes when you get a B move, and it's rare, but it can happen, the B move can extend to the 1.4. I Googled this as I was learning about. You could sometimes see a B move extend out to the 1.4, and you can see that's where it rejected. And then that C move actually, where you measure it using the trend-based fib extensions, gives you that next move, and then it usually goes right and finds that bottom. So I find that like quite the coincidence. Isn't that something? Now, I said this is the third time this has happened. You want to know when the last time it happened? Let me show you the last two times that we saw something crazy like that, okay? Take a look at this. All right, I'm going to show you something here. You guys might remember this. This was right before earnings. We're going to do trend-based fib extension. So we had a move down, followed by a move up. Take a look at that. Are you joking me? Where's that bottoming? Okay, hold on. All right, so this was the second time that we saw it. And who remembers what the sentiment was like here, right before earnings? Oh, it's over. It's going back to 3. It's done. Everybody was saying all sorts of crazy things, actually. And it actually, it pushed a little bit below the 161. But you can see relatively it reclaimed that. And this to me was an A, a B, and a C. And what was the following move? How did it end? Notice the 1 hour, how it ended. It exploded. We had an explosive move, and that was even before earnings. And things kind of heated right back up. Now, what if I told you this happened a third time? Okay. I'm going to show this to you again. And some of you guys may remember. I remember because I've been freaking charting this every single week. What if we do this? Okay. The A move up to the B move. And then that's your C. Now, if you guys don't see it, I'm going to label that for you. A, B, C. Now, it's not perfect, okay, you guys? It's not like right down to the penny. But to me, take a look when you got this move where it's like, okay, you make higher highs, but then all of a sudden it goes whoop, makes lower lows. And right around that 161.80 fib, a little bit below that, you get a bottom. And then it explodes. This was okay, let's just call this the first time. This was the second time. And now I believe this is like the third time that it's happening, okay? To me, that's what it reminds me of. All right. I think I made my point here that, in each of these, if I were to take a snapshot of all the bears who kind of came out of the woodworks right over here, and right over here. The sentiment, even for the bulls, was quite low. The morale was quite low. Everyone kind of felt defeated because what happened? We went from making higher highs to lower lows, higher highs to lower lows, higher highs to actually didn't even make lower lows. This wasn't even at that bad. This was pretty tame because, as you saw, this was 127. So to put in perspective, this is not even as bad as it was over here. And look how it followed up. Yes, some may say, oh, well, there was earnings that stopped it. But what about here? There was no earnings. I think there was just the announcement of being profitable. Can we dive deeper on the velocity? Yes, we can. Let's go to the 15-minute time frame. It is a valuable time frame to take a look at. And I want to show you the 15-minute time frame because it's good. Why not? Let's do that. So on the 15-minute time frame, on our 200-day moving average, since this thing has kind of been in a downtrend for the first time in this entire sequence, which was Friday, it made, and I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see, it made a higher low on the 200-day moving average. Now, notice over here when, and this is how the velocity works. It applies on all time frames. When you get a lower low on that velocity, and it doesn't always work that way, but sometimes when you get a lower low, notice the following move is nothing. You get like a lower, it's just a short move before it gets slammed down. Now, this ended up being a higher, this was also a lower low. You got to zoom in. See that yellow? That was also a lower low. So I was like, okay. And you don't really get a move. You get like kind of like a downwards move. And then for the first time in the sequence, it made a higher low. Now it did something weird. It made a higher low and then it did this. So if I went to probably the 30 minutes, it would smooth that out. But to me, I call that a higher low. I'm going to call it a higher low just cause. Now there's another thing I would say on the 15 minutes to get excited about. So I would call that a major trend line. That was one of them that broke. And I would call this a major trend line. That was a second one that broke. And you'll notice we've broken 2 trend lines now on the velocity. Complete successful retest right there on that bottom. And look at this. We've spent this entire time below that midline. I'm telling you, that big move is coming to the upside. You can just see it. You can just see it. It wants to go up and do that. So I'm very. While I did get the prediction wrong that I was predicting that we would see minimum $7.58 breakout into last week, I got that wrong, and I apologize. I'm not going to get things perfect actually, but I do see that actually us reaching a bottom, and then that will happen the following week. I may not get the timing wrong, but I'm hoping to get the bigger picture right. And from all of my analysis, nothing shows me that there's anything that you should be overly scared about. And let's remember, we're still holding above that $6 bit. $6 is a big level. It was also that previous high, and it's holding right above, which was 620. That's where it closed out. You'll notice each time on the last rally, it would always test that previous high before it would just start running. And you can even see that in action. It would always take below, and then you'd go up, take below, go up, take below, go up. And then you can almost see it right here, right? Tagged it. So we've now have like that scary move where it tagged the low. And I think it's almost time for us to, look at this. You can almost see it like playing into here actually. So I do believe our next leg is coming higher here, guys. It's coming soon. And I think, okay, I think what you would want to see is, and I'm going to go zoom out to really get the real picture here. I believe that this is just like a little move. And let me make sure I'm changing to log scale. Yep, I am. So I just believe it was just a little corrective move, but on the bigger time frame. Some of you Elliott Wave charters are going to tell me it should be this one, but this is the way I like to do it. Okay, we came short of that 745. And I was calling that last week. I'm calling it this week, 745, 818, and hell, let's get it. Let's get 920, baby, up to 9. And here's the beauty of all this, okay? There was some warning signs that this thing was topping. It hit this brick wall, okay? It hit this brick wall that it hasn't been able to get up, which is this resistance line. And so, look, hit the brick wall. The nice thing, though, now that it's down, on the way back up, because time has passed, that trend line's way higher. So you can see when we work our work our butts all the way up there, we'll be a lot higher in price. I truly believe that. That's my analysis on NIO. We're coming right back to say hello to this trend line. And of course, at some point in time, I would really like to see this break out to the upside, retest it, and give you that big, big, big squeeze. But we got to cross those bridges when we get there. And then what we have earnings coming up. When is earnings? Earnings is approximately June 4th. It hasn't been announced. You got to wait for the company to announce that. But I want to show you something here. Let's see if I can nail this. I don't know if I'm going to. I might not be able to nail it. I'm going to try to nail it from a timing perspective on NIO. That's a lot of bars. What if I did half those bars? Oh, wait. I'm not doing 24-hour time frame. That's why. But still, that's a long time it took to break out of that. Let's see. Half that time would be 55 bars. June 1st. Yeah. So this thing took 109 days to break out. And it hasn't even been half that time on the way on that breakout. And I suspect, at least leading into the earnings, that we're going to continue this uptrend. From another timing thing. That's just another fun thing. You can measure how long a downtrend was and how high it was. Let's see how it worked out here. You can see even like there was like that downtrend. Let's see how that worked. Roughly a breakout. Look at that. I didn't do it perfect, but look, downtrend broke out. Boom. Okay, so are we going to run until August? I mean, I don't know. Maybe. But I'm bullish, and I think the things are still good. Things are still looking good, actually, here. We're going to open the chart here. We're going to take a look at some of our other names here. I'm going to move on to the next week. I think next week, if this is the bottom here, the bottom, did it? Yeah, it little bit tagged below that. Let me see if that is. Oh, okay. So we're kind of still there. That's where that bottom should come. I think we should run. Come on, NIO, you can do it. Come Monday, give us some juicy news. Give us something. This is probably the best place that you'd want to try and, swing for a long. It's always on the bottom of a trend line. Is if you could just look to the left. That's where you'd want to kind of swing long. So we're going to go and move to the next ticker, BABA. Let me see if I can pound back this coffee. It's like lukewarm now. It's kind of gross, but it's still giving me the caffeine, which is why I'm drinking it in the first place. BABA started reversing off this little pullback. What did I call for on BABA? I called for 166. I think that's still coming. 166 right over here. That's your golden pocket retracement. Now, when I look at things from a velocity perspective, even on the 24 hours, it's in position to make a higher low. And look at that. It's already kind of gave you that nice, beautiful green day. 4-hour time frame. It gave us the bounce off the midline. It might need to bump, do something like that, which would look something like this to give you that higher low to do that. Let's take a look. Yeah, that's what I would actually anticipate. It's not the cleanest look because you broke above the 200-day moving average. But it did give you a nice 3% bounce. On the 1 hour, let's see the 1 hour. And the 1 hour is telling us it's ready to make a big move. Look at that. And huge higher high move, impulsive move. So I think that next leg higher is coming. And let's see. Did it break out of this trend line? Oh, yes, it did. All right. So, okay. So if that was one move, there's your next move. Look at that. Some confluence. What was I calling for? I was calling for something pretty big, wasn't I? Your golden pocket right there, right in between the 127 and 161. So I think you're going much higher on Baba. It's looking great. Baidu. Baidu's looking good. Whoa. Okay. Baidu had a freaking 5.91% day. Did it have news? I don't know. The Baidu's just, whoa, it's doing great. It's coming back with a vengeance. It's made a move above the midline and it's making another higher low. We saw JD do something like that before. The 24 hours are starting to try and shape up and is looking good. 4 hour time frame broke back above the 200-day moving average and it made a higher high here too. That's fantastic. Likely, where was I saying 145? Let's see if this works. Can I do this? Let's see if this works. Something like that. 145. I still see Baidu going higher. 24. I think things are just getting started. 4 hours. Yeah, we're still moving. 1 hour. Was that a higher low on the 1 hour? It was a lower low, but just barely. So it's wanting to make another move here. I would be a little cautious because I think it's going to push higher. What you want to see ideally is you're going to want to see that high taken out here in the velocity. Otherwise, you end up getting what's called bearish divergence. It could be, exhausting a little here, but it looks like it just got started. So to me, I think we can start seeing maybe 135 next week on Baidu and working its way towards 144. JD also like in that exact same time frame as NIO, which both to me had like almost the same setup. There's NIO overlaid on top of it, and it's unbelievable how like and uncanny they both topped. And look at these cycles, boink, boink, almost like in sync. Now JD's actually almost like it's running in advanced. It's running a little bit. Had a green day, whereas NIO didn't. Now that's not to say that NIO's not better or not going to run any harder, but looks like JD's ready to go on the 1 hour. It's almost the exact same setup as NIO, where it broke out to the upside on the 1 hour. 24 hours is still in position to make another continuation and a higher low. I was calling it for a while. I don't have my parallel chart here, but I was calling it for a while, and I was saying at the very least you would tag that golden pocket. I think that golden pocket from that previous top would come, which is 3270, which is I would even remeasure that from up here and say, you know what, you might even get 40. 40 kind of makes a lot of sense here. So this is maybe it's just starting before you get that big bear paw like move to 40. That would be beautiful. And that would, you need that higher low to come in on the 4 hours. It's giving you like that higher low it is reference to that is higher low, and it's bouncing above the midline. JD looks good, and it's finally broken back above the midline. So if you're in JD, let's go. Kweb did the same thing. Look at that. This thing, you compare this to NIO. So then you got to think like this is like a China thing that's kind of that dragged almost the price down. So and overall it's a similar structure, and it dragged down a little. And it's looking good on the 1 hour, 24 hours. Yeah, it's starting to make its very first higher low above the 200-day moving average the same way that Baba was doing it. So I think there's going to be something big coming for the Chinese indexes, and we're going to see some follow through. And I think that's the good news is going to come towards NIO as well. Kweb, did I give you guys a target for Kweb? I did. I said 38. Man, you're a long ways away, and I can see it happening. 28%. I think that's coming. And with that, I think, $8 and $9 is coming for NIO. I want to show you real quick. I want to run back to NIO before I go into anything else, because I forgot to show you the weekly. The weekly, I want to say, look at that. It's above the 200-day moving average again, above the midline. The monthly gave you the higher low. Now, we have how many days left of the month? There's your monthly candle. It's like just like a wick. And last month was 1.1 billion. This month was 600 million. And there's still, I guess, next week that's left actually for NIO. So if there's going to be volume that's going to come in, I think next week is the week that you'd want to see it. Another thing too on the weekly is that entire week was kind of on relatively lower volume, which is nice to see. You know, there wasn't as much volume on that pullback. And I'm hoping it was just like a 1 week pullback and we're ready to rock. Got sidetracked here. I want to go to the US dollar because it's important. We reviewed the US dollar. I think I called this. I'm pretty sure I called it. I said US dollar is going to make this kind of move. It's going to make that kind of recovery move. A counter trend rally, okay? Which would have been, look where that counter trend, golden pocket, okay? Previously. And you can just do this at golden pocket. You're going to see that everywhere. The golden pocket, you might see the dollar tag 99. Hang on. Where is this purple thing? Delete that. There we go. We might see, in my opinion, a little bit higher. It doesn't have to go to the golden pocket. I mean, it looks like it's rejecting the 382, but we might see it go up as high as 99.6, which is, you know, like how much of a percent that would move? That would be a 1% move. That might even gap fill. You got a gap fill there too. And then you would get your next leg lower. That final swoop lower where it's like, oh my God, the dollar's crashing and we better rush and put our cash into the stock market. I think that kind of move is coming actually. You can almost measure that. What was that move? Let's see. Yeah, you can measure, hit the 127. Look, if it goes to 99.6, you're gonna see 95 again. And what? That's gonna be your quadruple bottom. It's coming. And it's not even like you can even see this like descending trend line. It's giving you confluence. That's where I think it's gonna go. And this move right here is when it's coming down, your stock market is going to be ripping. This move right here, you might get a little turbulence, okay? And we might have topped potentially. So if that's the case, then, you know, I can readjust and measure where that's going to go on that US dollar. Maybe that's where it is. Maybe, okay? So you still get to the same spot. You might even get a little lower. And I think, to me, that's the best way to really, you know, that's where it'll find a bottom. That's where everyone's going to say, oh my God, my cash is losing money. My US cash is losing money. I need to chase the stock market, especially when you get to these bottoms. And that's when when you get to these bottoms, major corrections take place. So people start getting worried, so they put their money in the stock market. All of a sudden, it starts reversing, and you're like, "What the hell? Why did I get so scared in the first place?" So, this is what I believe on that U.S. dollar. Oil. Everyone says oil is the new VIX. I still believe oil is going to grind higher and take that 114 out and give you a bearish divergence. It actually did that It did that exact same setup 2 years ago. Let's erase some of these drawings so you can see that. It gave you a counter trend. This was the counter trend rally. I know it's a counter trend rally because our 200-day moving average was curling down as it made up. And it took out the high here. Notice the price made higher highs, but the velocity made lower lows. And I was expecting the same thing. Price makes higher highs, but our velocity makes lower lows. You know, it might coil a bit before it does that. So you might get a coil here, and then you get something like that. And then eventually they're just going to squash oil. I know there's like, this is the paper price of oil. Now, if you were to zoom out, I want to share this. Someone asked me, like, well, how high do you see oil going? I don't actually want this to happen. But oil at one point was, in the 2008 crisis, was $240. And if you just go on the monthly chart and you draw this out and you say like, oh my God, it broke out, it consolidated, and now it's pushing the next leg higher. Like just even the golden pocket retrace of that whole move going from top to bottom brings you to 146.73. And if you double top and it tries to retake that out 240,000, potentially above that. That's like in a really bad case, like instance. Like, I don't want to actually be a doomer or say that can actually happen, but if it wanted to, let's just say they push this oil thing narrative and that this takes a while, and they could do something stupid like that, 300, 400, and all of a sudden you're going to see the biggest crash ever on oil. That's like what the doomers are probably saying. I don't want to actually entertain that. And to me, to be perfectly honest, to actually do technicals on oil is very, 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 very difficult. And I look at the monthly time frame, and it's been just vertical. I look at the weekly velocity, and it's actually within a pullback. And then I look at the daily velocity, and this could very well be a short that's setting up on oil. It's in a downtrend. We have a lower high, lower low. Sorry, higher low, lower high, lower low. And if you get another lower high, that signal could be, a potential for the next leg lower. A potential. And if you're looking for that short, you'd find that on that 4-hour time frame, and it might be. Anyways, I'm not going to do deep dive on oil. Let's look at China. Seng Index. Look at this. Scribbles. Yuck. Okay. Let's delete these scribbles. Get these scribbles out the way. And horizontal ray out the way. All right. Get that arrow out. Where are we? We're still sitting at support. Isn't that freaking crazy? You got to be freaking... You're telling me that the Chinese economy, they must have the same chart. This thing is bouncing. Bunk, 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 bunk. Only this time it actually went under. And look where it's rejecting. Reject, reject, reject. I don't know about you guys, but I seen inverted head and shoulders. What do you guys think? Now, if you guys don't see that, I think there's actually head and shoulders. Here it is. Left shoulder. Oops. Head. Wait. How do you use this tool? I think you're supposed to go like this. How am I supposed to use this tool? There's your left shoulder. That's your head. There's your right shoulder. Okay. I don't even know how to use that tool, but actually it should have been like that. Okay, I did it wrong. There we go. That's how you're supposed to do it. Okay. My first time using that tool. I apologize. I'm sure some of you guys who've used this tool before are like, what am I even doing? There it is. There's your left shoulder. There's your head. That's a very bullish pattern, by the way. It's an inverted head and shoulders. Velocity on the 24 hours back above the midline. It's giving you first pullback above the midline. And we can see pretty much you're always going to be followed up with some sort of bounce here. And we're at the bottom of the trend line here. Could China give us some sort of good news and push us to 30,000? That's got to be good for NIO, right? And all the other Chinese equities. Like, we're near the bottom here. And that's what was different about NIO this time. NIO starting this rally where we're at the bottom, whereas the previous rallies we were at the top and we were too late. Can it catch that massive tailwind? Maybe. I think so. Okay, so let's just quickly look at this again. We go like this. We measure that out. That's a breakout. To me, that looks like a breakout. And it's coiling, getting ready to go. And just waiting for something. I do believe a test up here is warranted. 28,000. Maybe it chills here for a bit, works its way up to 31,000, which completes this cup. Okay, I want to be very clear here. You don't just come, make that invisible. You don't just go all the way from 14,000 up to 28,000 and not take these highs out. Come on. It's going. It's going. We all know it's going there. It's just taking its sweet time. And that's the goal. That's where you want to go. And it's going to make this monstrous. Probably that's where, when you get to 31, you get the next pullback. You got that next cup and handle. And I truly believe what you're probably going to see. I don't know. I'm just predicting here long term. If you can think long term, you're going to get some golden era of like the Chinese super duper bull market where it goes ballistic. Why not? Why not? And you can actually measure that move. Let's see. What would that, do we have an actual move here? Yeah, I mean, you can kind of get close. I'm just dreaming here a little bit, guys, but thinking long term here. You don't come all this way just to come crashing down. No. That's I'm very bullish Chinese market. And I think we're due for a bounce. But that's it. That sums up my video. This actually got a little bit longer. I tried to cover everything. I want to say something before I leave, before you guys go. Very important. Please, if you have not already, I invite you to come join us in our Discord channel. And I drop my daily analysis every single day, which, can be very helpful. I have in there, we have Aaron's trending, NIO trending, NIO trending, Aaron from NIO trending. He's dropping his updates there daily. He's got his own little channel in there and he's posting his videos there. So if you want to get notifications or even engage or interact with him. And we also have the up and coming Mohamed. He is fantastic. He's actually a NIO owner. He drives, I think, his ES5 and he provides Elliott wave analysis and he's awesome. I'm not very good at Elliott waves. I'm still slowly learning, and that may be something that I'll start providing more. But he recently posted an update, and he's believing that NIO is going to 9, and I'm with him there. I think we're going to do something very, very, very bullish. It's coming for NIO. But that's it. That's all. That sums up my video. If you guys, and I want to ask one last question. If you're still watching right to the end of this video, if you haven't already. Just because, I think it's always a fun question. What's something fun that you did this week? I want to hear about it in the comment section below. If you don't know what to type or respond in the comment section, let me know with something fun. I mean, you always get the life in the laser, but I want to get the life in whatever, like your life, the life in your life in the comment section below. Tell me something fun or interesting that happened in your week. I'd love to read that if you don't know what else to say. That is it. That is all. If you're brand new here, don't forget to smash the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. We drop one of these videos once per week. That is it. That is all. Thank you and have a good day.